Hey, everybody, welcome to the Machine Shop Growth Podcast. My name is Mike Fritz. I am our host. And this week, as you know, on the Machine Shop Growth Podcast, we do 4 episodes a month, 2 times a month. I do the first and third Tuesday, I do sales marketing and rethinking branding and how you set yourself, how you present your shop to the world, to the industry. And then on the second and fourth Tuesday of the month, Kirk does an operations episode where he talks all about the floor, how to make a part move through the floor efficiently, effectively, and profitably. And those are 3 different things. You can be running efficiently and still be non-profitable if that part's not quoted correctly. So he gets to dive in, talk a lot about the nuts and bolts, no pun intended, of what happens in the operations or on the floor. That's our op show. And so last episode, though, if you didn't listen to last episode, that's a good one. Go back, listen to the last episode where Kirk and I do a joint episode on a specific topic. I had a post a couple weeks ago that a lot of people engaged with, and it was around this idea of dropping the 20% of work that is it might be losing you money, or maybe not making money, or making very little money. Let's say no to that work. Well, then a lot of people ask, well, what do you do when that work is tied to one of your good customers? And that's a good question. That's a really good question. So Kirk and I paused our normal show routine and said, let's shoot this together, because this has both a sales and marketing element and it has an operational element. And so we wanted to bring that together for you and talk about, what do you do with those 20% of jobs specifically when they're tied to a customer that's a big percentage of your business. How do you handle that? Do you have to take the losers in order to get the winners? And so make sure you go back and listen to that episode. If you haven't subscribed and liked our show, please do, and leave us a review. We love positive reviews. Helps us get more good content to great people like you, so we can help this industry we are so passionate about. So this week on the podcast, one of the things I want to talk to you about this week, just me flying solo this week, I want to talk to you specifically about this idea of ICP. ICP stands for Ideal Customer Profile. Ideal Customer Profile. So when you think about most people in the machining industry do not even have an ICP. And the reason is we're kind of we call ourselves job shops, and we're a job shop. And a lot of times what quote unquote job shop means is we do all things for all people. If a customer brings us something, we'll figure it out, kind of thing. And what I want to do is I want to help you develop an ICP, a ideal customer profile. One of my favorite stories of this actually comes from a pastor, Rick Warren, who started Saddleback Church. And maybe you guys have heard this story. He wrote some good books, one of the best-selling books in American history, Purpose Driven Life. But when he was starting his church, when he was starting Saddleback Church, he surveyed his area. And he created, if you look in, he actually wrote a book called Purpose Driven Church, which, by the way, is a great marketing book. I know it's for church, and for it, there's obviously a religious tint to it, but it's a great book when you're thinking about how to actually market. And really what I want you to see in the machine shop world, I don't care if you're selling parts out of a machine shop or flowers for a florist, you have to think marketing is simply how you communicate about the problem you solve for a specific person. How you communicate about the problem you solve for a specific person. How you communicate about the problem you solve for a specific person. That's what marketing is. How you communicate about the problem you solve for a specific person. That's what marketing is. And I don't care if you're running a church, you're a florist, or you're running a machine shop. It's the same thing. We have to figure out what's our messaging. How do we market to a specific person to solve a specific problem? That's what we're doing. Well, in Purpose Driven Church, he had this profile called Saddleback Sam. And the idea with Saddleback Sam is this is who we are going after. We're going after, I believe, if memory serves me right, it was like people in their 20s and 30s that were struggling with the law. They were struggling. They were feeling like an outcast. That's who they were going after. Well, then the second thing they did is they surveyed their community, saying, if you go to church, and if not, why? And they took the why. So they took all the people that didn't go to church and they said, okay, here's why people aren't going to church. Let's create a church that solves these problems. Interesting. So it's basically saying these are the barriers to entry. This is why I don't go to church. Let's do this, right? And whether you go to church or not, or religious or not, in my point, I don't really. That's not what I'm talking about. What I am talking about is it's the same thing for your machine shop. Do you know why your customers choose you? Do you know why they switch vendors? Why do they work with one person and then go to another person, right? So the question is, how do you identify your customers' problems and perspectives, and then how do you solve them, right? Marketing, how you communicate about how you solve a specific problem for a specific person. That's marketing, right? And so when you're picking your ICP, your end of your ideal customer profile, you're picking customers that need the kinds of parts your shop is good at. Customers that need the processes and quality your shop is good at. When you pick an ICP, you don't pick who you want, you pick who you best serve. Now, if your shop serves customers that maybe most of the customers in that industry you don't make a lot of money on, okay, maybe you need to shift the kinds of services your shop is good at so that you can actually serve a better customer in a more profitable industry. I get that. So again, I had a friend of mine that did a lot of tier one automotive, and he said, we're really good at it. The problem is it's really volatile. The car industry goes up, down, and all of a sudden we're out of work one day. And he ended up shifting to a different certification in the aerospace world where he could do parts that flew. Well, that changed the version. So, but you want to talk about a shop overhaul, different machines, different people. And I'm not saying he fired staff, but I'm saying like when you have a different ICP, your services have to change, or vice versa. If you're gonna choose a certain ICP, like if your ideal customer profile, like I want to do work for aerospace customers because they pay good money. Well, that sounds great, but you got to have the certifications in the shop to be able to pull that off. So when you're choosing your ICP, you look at your shop and say, this is what we do really well. Now, how do you find that out? Couple things. First, we've said this again, I'm going to say it again, but you go back into the shop, figure out what parts are profitable. Are you really good at a certain disc or a certain bushing or a certain XYZ? What are you good at? Are you good at tight tolerance? Are you good at certain materials? Or what are you truly good at? Are you 5-axis, you 3 and 4? Are you primarily a turning shop? You have multiple lathes and you got a few mills so you can mill, but really you're a lathe shop. Figure out what you do well. And you do that by figuring out what parts are most profitable in your shop. So what I would do if I were you is I would look at my top, call it 10 customers, 5 customers, doesn't really matter. And you look at what are the similarities? Well, it's repeat work with the same material, and it's turned tight tolerance, this type of material. We need customers that do this exact thing. So create an ICP. So you look at your customers. A lot of times your customers will tell you who your ICP is. So your customer's like, "Ooh, we love that customer because they do X, Y, and Z." Okay, great. So now let's build an ICP right around that customer, and then let's market to them. Because if I'm a marriage therapist, and I know this is going to go off the beaten path for a second, but I want you to see this. If I'm a marriage therapist, oh, you know what? Let's use this example. If I'm a general practitioner, if I'm a doctor and I'm a general practitioner, and you aren't feeling great, you're just having a cold, yeah, you'll go to a general practitioner. You don't need a big specialty or whatever. How do you market as a general practitioner? It's much harder. The generalist is the hardest to market and the least paid. Let me rephrase that. The generalist is the hardest to market and the least paid. Now, the specialist, now let's say you needed to have heart surgery. You ain't going to a general practitioner. You're going to a heart surgeon, and probably one of the best ones you can find or afford. So you are going to go to a heart surgeon that knows what they're doing, right? So you're going to a specialist, very highly trained, very highly paid, very easy to market because they know the symptoms of when you need heart surgery or when you need heart health help, right? So they understand your need because of what they provide and they can market to it. If you are a straight lathe and mill shop, 3-4-axis, no bells and whistles, a little bit harder to market that. So you have to dive into your customer profile. Are we going to specialize on our quality process, tight tolerance? Are we specialize on a specific material? Are we going to specialize, we're really aluminum shop or really stainless or whatever? How are we going to hone in to really differentiate our shop, right? To differentiate our shop. So we look at the customers we have. It's like, okay, looks like we have OEM customers that need X. That's our ICP. So now I can actually go and search for the exact same customers that need what they need. Now, the fast and furious way to do this is take your customers, find their competitors. Take their customers, find their competitors. Now, a lot of people have a little bit, they feel wrong about doing that because, oh, I'm servicing this customer and then I'm going to go service somebody else. We are a job shop. We don't own any part of the proprietary upside of any part. So if we make part A for a customer and we're good at that part, we need to really scale the value of that. We need to make it for other people. Now, if we owned a proprietary part of that and owned upside, yes, that would become conflict of interest. It's not a conflict of interest to make the same part for a different person, right? And so that's where take your ICP, find your competitors. Take your ICP, find your competitors. There's a really good AI company called Apollo.io. Apollo.io. It's a good tool. It's a service-based subscription, but it'll take a customer and it'll help you. AI will help identify their competitors or customers of like kind. It's a really good way to do that, or at least that's a practical way to do that. Now, how many of you will actually go do that? I don't know, but I hope some of you use some of the AI tools out there to surface the kind of companies that you could be doing work for. Often why marketing fails for a couple reasons. Number one, it often doesn't happen. But number two, it rarely has disciplined strategy. Like, we're good at this. Here's our ICP. We're going to build a marketing campaign funnel, whatever you want to call it, around going after these specific people. So, for example, even if you were to go to a trade show, you were to go to one of the bigger trade shows, what's a good one? Oh, Design Depart. There's a good one. They have them all over the country, and you could go and set up a shop. And I did this. I went and bought a booth, set up shop, and no pun intended. And I was one of probably 6 or 7 machine shops in a pretty small space, probably 100 vendors. And I was one of 7 machine shops. And I just made stuff, man. I had no differentiator. Oh, lathes, mills. I had nothing, dude. I had nothing. Now, if I go there and I have a certification, I do Swiss or I do aerospace or I ITAR and I do defense work or whatever. Okay, now I got a little bit of differentiation, right? So, but even when you go to a trade show, especially actually when you see, knowing your ICP, when customers come up to you, you can structure your booth marketing to call out the people you specifically serve, call out the parts you are better than anybody in the game at, right? But here's the thing, again, most marketing fails. It either doesn't happen, but even after that, there's no strategy or discipline to it. I don't really know who I'm going after, so I really just end up standing on the street corner shouting, I make stuff, instead of saying, are you struggling with supply chain issues, quality issues, specifically tied to these type of parts? Well, now I know when I need you. So I want you to think about marketing a little different, right? So, Quick Tech Machining, you see that on my shirt if you're watching on video, watching us on YouTube or whatever. Quick Tech Machining is a shop I own down in Paris, Kentucky. Well, if you think about this, if I want people to know by our marketing when they have a quick tech part or a quick tech sized problem, meaning I want them to know when to call me, right? If I just say, hey, I make stuff, well, they don't know when to call me because every machine shop makes stuff. But if I say I make XYZ and I'm really good at XYZ and XYZ, okay, well, now I know. I'm on my site and you look, oh, wow, they do this specific part. They're a grinding service. I need something ground, go. We don't do that at Quick Tech, but it's as serving as an example. So you can really target the customer. So if you're in a crowd and you just start shouting the name John, hey, John, people might turn because they see noise, but they're not going to walk up to you if their name isn't John. Marketing is like that. Having an ICP allows you to stand up in a crowd and shout to the people who are looking for you, rather than standing up in a crowd and shouting John and having everybody walk by that ain't John. Right? And so it's really important. The ICP allows the customer to hear your voice when you say their name. I want to repeat that. The ICP allows the customer to hear your voice when you call their name. right? It is really, really, really important. So this is why this is not talked about enough in our industry, but the ICP is ideal customer profile, meaning what's the customer like? What kind of parts do they make? What kind of volume do they have? I mean, we were we I met a customer at Design to Part, ironically, one a couple years back, and they do high volume, and I'm like high volume. I'm like we definitely can make. I mean, we've made up to we had one part we made up to 1 million parts a year. Now they were ran on 3 Swish machines, but we did 1 million parts a year, and I thought that was pretty good. He goes, yeah, we do 1 million a month. I'm like, okay, we ain't your shop because ain't no way I can pump out 1 million parts a month out of that shop unless I quadruple the staff and automate the living daylights out of it. So I'm not their shop, right? So instantly my ICP and their need for a shop they didn't match. Another customer came up and say, could you guys do 3 foot diameter big casting elbows that go underground? I'm like, nope, not our work. Can't do that. So we can't do stuff that big. And so again, very, very simple, right? Your ICP allows your customer to hear your voice when they say your name. Okay. So I want you to say that in your sleep. And again, another quote, marketing, right? Marketing is how you deliver a message about a problem you solve to a specific person. That's all we're doing. And this ICP allows you to dive into to your shop. If you have never sat down and really articulated your ICP, it's a good exercise, even if you never develop a marketing campaign around it, which I would say you should, but let's say you don't. Just the effort alone will teach you a lot about your shop. You might go through the data. This is why I love data. I'm kind of a data junkie. I love data. When you go through all of your customers, all the parts, look at the last 50 to 100 parts you've delivered to your customers, and you might go back and do it like, dude, I didn't know this. 79% of our work was aluminum, and specifically aluminum turning. Maybe aluminum turning is what we ought to do. We'll become the best in the state and in the region at aluminum turning. You want something to turn to aluminum? Not only could we do it and hit tolerance every time, I'm fast because I'm good at it. See, that ICP allows that laser marketing to land on your customer's desk, right? Instead of just saying, shouting on the street corner, we make stuff, right? I want you to stop saying we make stuff. I know you make stuff. You probably do it very well. But what I want you to do is really have an ICP so the customer knows when they need to call you, okay? I want them to know when they need to call you, okay? So if you look at your last like 50 jobs, what are the jobs that you did really well at? Let's see what percentage of jobs are you all over the map. Holy cow, we did a little bit of lathe work, a little bit of mill work, some of this, some of that, some of this, some of that. Man, it's like it's everything. And a lot of shops have said that to me. Dude, there's no rhyme or reason. I get a ton of everything. Okay. Then the ton of everything is then organized based on which parts I made the most money at, because that's obviously what is a good fit for us, at least profitably. Now, there could be other parts that are passion parts. Like, I love making these parts. They're good. They're good to train people on. I love these parts. We only make a 9% margin, but it's really good. And I want to keep these parts. That's great. I'm not telling you to get rid of that stuff. But what I am telling you to do is use your last 50 parts, use the profitability test and the percentage of what you're doing, and see if you can articulate a true ICP based on what you are doing right now. And revenue doesn't always mean right fit, right? Revenue doesn't always mean right fit. So you can be making a lot of money off some parts, but you deliver slow because they just bog down through your shop. So you have to do one of two things. If you want that to be your ICP, okay, we got to true up some systems so that it gets through the floor a lot faster. And that's what Kirk talks about on our other show. So revenue doesn't always mean right fit, but it often means right fit. And even if that's not what you want to do all the time, putting a couple of those right fits, keep the lights on, keep payroll paid, keep you growing financially so you can grow missionally, right? So if you have a passion for whatever industry, we have to have enough work that keeps the lights on, then you can keep doing what you're passionate about, right? And what you love to do. Like some of y'all love to sit down and develop the hard parts, the crazy cycle times, and it takes an army to program it because takes so many different perspectives. Some of you like that hard stuff. Other people like, dude, I like to spit and go, man. I'll make a lower margin on 1 million parts. I want a bigger shipping department than I want a machining department. That's great. Whatever you want to do, that's fine. But we got to have some of those revenue parts to keep the lights on, then we can do what we love, right? And so, but again, this is about figuring out what that does. You got to take some time and actually locate this. Actually locate this. Because truth is, the fastest way to grow your machine shop sometimes is not adding new customers, but sometimes it's adding good customers or the right customers or better customers, or even taking one customer and copying them and creating what we call a lookalike campaign. A lookalike campaign says I take my top 3 customers and I create lookalikes around them, meaning I create 5 companies just like them or their competitors, and I go after them, just like I said a minute ago. So again, growing or mark, it's not just about, hey, I just need more customers. No, you need good customers. You need the right customers. You need, quote unquote, customers, the ideal customers, which is where our ICP word comes from, right? And so again, a lot of our shops are so afraid of losing revenue that we say yes to everything, and then we block up our shop for the opening to accept what we should be doing. And what the ICP does is it tells me when I get a request for quote, let's say it's from a new customer, they found out about me maybe from so and so, and I get it across, and every time we get a quote, we look at that customer, we do a little bit of background and see how close to our ICP are they. Well, we do stainless, they need stainless, great. We like high volume, they do mid range. Or let's say it's like, oh, they do stainless, great. Oh, it's low volume, high mix. Well, our programming department's not great, but our production department's awesome. Well, low volume, high mix, that doesn't always fit. You need a really good programming and setup department in order to handle low volume, high mix, right? And so because you got to be able to turn and burn programs fast and get things in and out of machines quickly, and setups and teardowns, all that stuff needs to be done efficiently, and you need to be able to charge for that. And so again, you take the new customers you're looking at, lay it next to your ICP. This is assuming you have one, of course. Lay it next to your ICP and say, how close are they? How close are they? Are they, oh, right material, good, right kind? Like if they like, oh, they really need 5-axis work. We don't even have a 5-axis machine. Well, that one's pretty easy. Oh, they need wire EDM. We don't even have a wire EDM. That one's easy. Or whatever, right? Or they need a quote for 1,000,000 parts a month, like the customer I met. Well, that ain't gonna fit us. Now we might be able to run logistics on some stuff like that, but it's not gonna be done in our shop. We just can't hold up that volume. So again, your ICP is the backbone of the face to the industry. So once you figure out your ICP, you go to your website, you redo your whole website based around your ICP. Once you find out your ICP, you build a brochure that you can hand out at trade shows or hand out in the market, in the industry, 100% based around your ICP. Your ICP drives it all. It drives your marketing, your website. It drives your paper brochures, anything, what's on your business cards, all that stuff. It drives what kinds of machines you have. It drives what kind of people you train, who you're looking for. It literally is one of the pillars to your business. And one of the reasons shops hit specific ceilings is because they're not interested in diving into the hard data work of finding out who their ICP is. Once you find out who your ICP is, then it opens up. There's this whole statement that, and I don't know who said it first. A lot of people have claimed this statement. I don't know who actually said it first, but it's called there's riches and niches. And the idea about there's riches and niches is that if I really go into a specific problem I solve for a specific person, well, then my value goes up. I can charge more because I'm better at that. I can be the solution in the industry for that specific thing. There's riches and niches. Choose something you do well, and you could generate a lot of revenue in that specific area. So again, this ICP is one of the key pillars to how the entire business is ran, right? How the entire business is ran. So what really is that customer? And one of the things, like for example, one of the things that's important to us is that they see us as partners. That's why our name, my holding company, American Precision Partners, that's why it's titled that, because we value partnership hard. We value it very much, right? We had a situation this week where we had a potential, I would say a newish customer take one of our designs we did for them for free. So the whole it was presented to us as, design this up, quote it, you'll get the production. Well, they took our design to somebody else to have the part made. That's not the kind of partnership we're interested in. And our team has really been meeting. They're really not our customer. We're doing some work for them, but eventually we'll probably offboard them, or figure out a different solution for them because they don't fit our ICP. They're not our ICP. And so it's really important to know what it is, build everything around it, and then go get those people. That's what the goal is. Figure out the cool thing, guys. I cannot explain how awesome this is. Once you have your ICP, it's so much fun because here's what you can do. You can build a sales team around the people who know those people better than anybody. You can figure out what the psychology of what makes a specific person tick. You can figure out what specific problems they have in their industry and literally become analysis and executional experts at fixing that problem. It is amazing. Remember, the generalist gets paid the least, right? The specialist gets paid the most. And we want to be specialists at something. I don't know what it is for you, but for something, at something. And so again, that's why the ICP, and the ICP is part of the backbone of doing that. So again, I want to also create a misnomer. Your ICP often is not your biggest customer. Some of y'all are serving customers that have a big portion of your P&L and a big portion of your PO flow, and they're not really your ideal customer. They're not a great fit, and they're kind of the work is clunky. You get it done and you get it out. Sometimes big customers don't match ICP. Sometimes that's not how that works. I mean, there's big, massive. We quoted a job a couple months ago that, I mean, it's as my sales guy says, a 900-pound gorilla. I mean, they are a huge player in the industry. We quoted $500,000 worth of work for them, and not found out, but as the price, they kept driving us down to the price they needed, we were going to make such small revenue that it literally was like we weren't even going to make any money. And so it's like, that's not our ICP. They need to go find somebody else that can either do parts faster or that have less burden and less overhead. We're not their shop. So you got to know that, and that ICP really does tell you that. So again, ICP, it's so powerful. It's so powerful. A lot of times a good thing for ICP is figure out, we have a specific customer at QuickTech that we get a lot of love from. Like they thank us like, we're so grateful you're our machine shop. You do such a great job for us. They happen to be our biggest customer. We're so good at their parts. A lot of people can't find out how to make money. They don't even know how we do it as cheap as we do it. And we generate good revenue off their parts. And so that's a good ICP for us, and it fits us. In fact, our whole shop is pretty much built around what they do. And that's a good ICP. Now, what are we doing? Well, we're going to find other people just like them. That's what we're doing. We're going to find other people just like them, because that's how it will become more profitable, period, right? Yep. And that's what I want you to do is take your top 5, 10 customers, lay them out, see who's sending you the most revenue. What's the margin on customer? This is really, really important. And this is why an ERP system, and if you haven't seen our episode back where I interviewed Paul Van Meter, a buddy of mine who owns ProShop ERP, go back and listen to that. We really dive into some of the power of the ERP system. But you go into your ERP, see how profitable is a specific customer. You might do a ton of work and come out like, dude, we're making 7.5% on a customer. Whoa! Now we do a ton of work, so okay, I'm willing to keep that for cash flow. But man, we tie up 50% of our capacity to make 7%. What if we could find other customers that were more? That might not be our ICP. Or is there a way to do it more efficiently? Like Kirk talks about, is there a way to do it more efficiently that we could take that 7 turn 14? Okay, well then that would make sense. So again, big customers don't always mean they're your ICP. Can. So your homework today from this episode is to go away and create an ICP. You hear me? You're going to go create an ICP. You're going to go create an ICP. You're going to go create something that changes the way you market, the way you present to the world, the way you communicate on your website, the way you communicate on a brochure. You're going to go change how you communicate to the world. This is so important it's one of the pillars, right? So take your top 5, 10 customers, take your top 50 to 100 jobs, see which ones were really profitable, see what about those jobs made them profitable. Are you just really good at it? Your team know how to do it, and you don't really have to step in if you're the owner or manager. And that's another big element to an ICP. It's like, dude, my team knows this and they're good at this, and I don't even have to step in if we have to make this. Let's go get more of this, right? Kind of thing. And find the ICPs that need this made, kind of thing. And so again, we always love when we get some questions and feedback. If you guys have questions, shoot questions to us via LinkedIn. Kirk and I are both on LinkedIn. As always, you can reach out and ask questions about this ICP thing if you're wondering. But it's so important, so valuable, and my heart breaks because it's just not utilized. Like, we don't take a minute and say we want customers that do this. And we don't do that because a lot of times we don't know how, and we don't go through the proper steps to figure it out, right? And so we might hear a shop across town that's got a couple lathes and mill, and they're doing work for X number of customers. It's like they're making a killing. Well, first of all, you don't know they're making a killing, and you just assume, oh, that's who I want. Maybe not, dude. Look at your shop, look at your culture, look at your people. What do you do well? Now let's build an ICP around that. I really appreciate you all. Thank you again for tuning in this week to the Machine Shop Growth Podcast. Make sure that you subscribe to the channel. If you haven't gone over and subscribed to our YouTube channel, we put a lot of content on and put these on YouTube as well if you want to watch a video. We appreciate you all, and let us know if there's any episodes you want to hear, anything you want to hear us truly teach, we'd be happy to do so. Appreciate you all. Take care. So again, if you have not subscribed to the podcast, please make sure you subscribe to the podcast. Those positive reviews really do fuel us forward, and we'd love a review from you so that we could go and continue to impact people in this amazing industry of machining. So we are so grateful. And again, we are doubling our content this year. No more 2 episodes a month. We're going to 4 episodes a month, and a couple of them will be sales, marketing, growth. The other 2 will be ops, engineering, and the floor. It'll really be the floor, like what happens on the floor, right? We're so grateful for all of you. So make sure that you tune in next week for another episode of Machine Shop Growth Podcast. Thank you all. Have a great week.